Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hello everybody, Kieran aka The Laird here, and I'm back with another book review for you. And as you can see, it is the Ultimate 80s Retro Gaming Collection, an essential guide to gaming's greatest decade. And I picked this one up from Amazon quite recently because I had a voucher to use, like I quite often do. And I get lots and lots of vouchers for doing stupid surveys and stuff. It's a good way to get free stuff on Amazon, basically. Hence why I've always got Amazon vouchers. But yeah, this one was in sale. It was massively reduced. I think it was half price when I picked it up. So I thought, why is it so cheap? It looks all right. I'll give it a go for that price. Um, I can't remember how much I paid for it now. I think it was about £7 or something. But it certainly wasn't a lot, and it seemed worth it because I had the voucher and stuff, and there wasn't much else on there that sort of took my fancy, so I went with it, and here we are. So, but when I bought it, as soon as I saw the cover, I thought that looks quite familiar, the design, and I was right to think it looked familiar. So I'll go into because there's nothing that gives it away so much here because it says, oh, it's Sona Books and it's got a description of the stuff. But there was something about that cover, and actually, what it reminded me of, and when I thought about it, was that many, many years back, I've actually reviewed it on the channel, so I will link it in the description. Is Retro Gamer did an ultimate guide to the 80s or something like that. It was called Bookazine. Very similar title. But yeah, the cover was very, 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 very similar to that magazine. But I thought, wow, it's just coincidence because they've just gone for a an 80s aesthetic in general. I'm sure there's nothing to it. But then I opened the cover and I thought that looks like pages from Retro Gaming. If you remember when they used to do the top tens for the systems, the system guides, games. They used to do pages like this, just packed full of screenshots, really, really similar. And I thought that's funny because that reminds me of Retro Gamer magazine as well. And then I opened it, and but I still thought, Sona Books, never heard of them. Dan Media Publishing, no, never heard of them. Strange, must be new company. And then I looked down, Future Publishing PLC. So obviously Sona Books must be part of Future Publishing PLC. I thought, oh, so maybe they did borrow somewhat from something that Retro Gamer have done. But I saw here Tom O'Neill, editor, never heard of him, don't know who that is, and turned the page again. Saw the contents and thought, this actually looks quite a lot like a Retro Gamer article as well. Let's keep going a bit more. So we've got a nice description here. We've got lots of stuff like you'd expect, like there's Mario, there's Manic Miner, there's Missile Command, there's Commodore 64, there's Tetris, there's Double Dragon, there's NES, there's Atari 2600, blah blah blah. Lots of stuff you'd basically expect to see in a magazine like this. Why the 80s ruled. Has a bit of a retro gamerish look to it, but certainly nothing stood out about this article. But what was interesting is this end part which says defining systems. They've put the Spectrum and Commodore 64, the sort of two ruling 8-bit systems in the UK, should I say. But the NES they've put in there, although that was only really in the US, North America that it ruled. It certainly didn't in the UK. So maybe that was a strange entry for that reason. I don't know. And then they've got the Amiga and the ST. And it was really nice to see the ST because the ST gets ignored so much. And actually, before I started writing for Retro Gamer, they barely covered the ST at all. And I changed that somewhat. I was pleased that I did. But after I stopped writing for them, I have lots of people tell me that they've gone back to completely ignoring the ST again, which is a shame. So there's some other stuff. There's a BBC Micro. Nintendo starts to dominate. Sega joins the battle. So obviously they're going for a worldwide perspective there with Nintendo starts to dominate. Games that define the 80s. So lots of obvious stuff like Outrunner, Super Mario and Tetris. And then I turned the page and I saw this. And straight away I knew what this book was. There's basically just, well, most of it, that intro isn't, I don't believe, but most of this book is just articles taken from Retro Gamer. Quite dishonest that they don't tell you that at any point. Doesn't say anything about that on Amazon. Doesn't say anything about it at the start of the book. It was only that future publishing bit that gave me a clue. And this article is instantly familiar to me because my third and final cover for Retro Gamer magazine was when I did the Ultimate Guide to Pac-Mania, and that was like a special Pac-Man uh, issue in many ways, because as well as my Ultimate Guide to Pac-Mania, there was also an article on the 2600 version of Pac-Man, which is what this is here. The story of Pac-Man on the Atari 2600, so not the arcade version. And that was led on from my article. So I recognise that very, very well because it's in here and it's not been changed at all. It's the same article. But it's a good article. I mean, Tim Lapatino wrote it. He's an excellent writer. And it's nice actually in this other arcade ports thing to see Double Dragon and Rampage mentioned, which I think don't get enough credit, to be honest. And then it's got the remakes of Pac-Man and stuff. But then it carries on. I mean, you've got greatest NES games. Yeah, that's Nick Thorpe. That's been ripped straight from Retro Gamer. So, yep, I remember when they did that. That was voted for on the forum and then social media by readers. Then we've got Double Dragon. Very old article because that's Stuart Hunt. And he was the deputy editor a long, long time ago. So, yeah, I remember working with Stuart. So that's in there. Nice to see Double Dragon though. I mean, people voted that the best arcade game of all time when I ran my arcade chart. There's Robotron. Again, taken from Retro Gamer. I remember that article well. It's a good one. History of Tetris. So again, taken from Retro Gamer magazine. I remember that was a cover article, I'm sure it was, from what I remember. Then the greatest Commodore 64 games of all time. Again, taken straight from Retro Gamer. You're spotting a theme, so spoiler alert, you probably just see what the winner is, but no surprises really in that chart. 10's greatest Super Mario moments. I think that was a cover article in Retro Gamer as well. So again, taken straight from Retro Gamer. That's quite a long article. The making of Outrun. That was in Retro Gamer as well. That was a cover article. Most of these were, I think. Frogger, Martin Carroll's look at Frogger. I remember that article well. It's a good one. And there's an interview with David Lubar, who I've interviewed loads of times. He's a good guy, David. Interviewed him many times. The top Master System games. I've lost the page here. A Guide to Missile Command by Darren Jones, the editor of Retro Gamer. So yeah, it's in there. Prince of Games, that's about Prince of Persia. I don't remember that article. Maybe that was a more recent one that's been in the magazine since I stopped reading it. I unsubscribed a long time ago. I kept it up for a while after I stopped writing for them, but I found I just never read them anymore because the repetition in what they were covering, they just kept covering the same old games over and over and over again, and so it kind of got a bit... I found myself just not really reading them anymore, so I cancelled, but... yeah, shame, but there we go. That's life. Making of R-Type. Then the greatest Spectrum games of all time. Ultimate Guide to Zelda. So it's all very obvious, isn't it? You know, the games that are in here. What you'd expect to see in here, I guess. Elite. Remember that? I think sure that was a cover article. I know it was, in fact. I remember the cover really, really well. The making of Spy Hunter. A bit less obvious, so that one was quite kind of nice to see in there. That's a good article, actually. The Making of Manic Miner. Unsurprisingly, Paul Drury, who knows Matthew Smith personally. All the different versions, all the different rooms. Lovely Guide to Chase HQ. That was a cover article. That's a good article, that one. All the different versions. Of course, the Spectrum one's the one that everyone remembers. It was amazing. And then we've got the top 25 Amiga games. But it's a shame they put the Amiga games and that bit where they mentioned. Remember the beginning where they mentioned the most important systems, and I said that they mentioned the ST. Well, all those systems that they mentioned there get a top 25 in this book, apart from the ST. So that's a bit of a shame, isn't it? They said the Spectrum, that got one. They said Commodore 64, that got one. NES, that gets one. Amiga, that gets one. Atari ST, no, leave that one out. So you say it's one of the most important systems, then you don't give it a top 25, but you gave the Master System a top 25, which you didn't regard as one of the greatest systems. It's a shame they didn't do the one that was the it certainly didn't do the top 25 ST games, really. Yeah, but that's it. That's the book. It ends with that, and then goes back to another one of those screenshot collages again. So yes, basically, if you're used to those Retro Gamer bookazines, all they've basically done is a Retro Gamer bookazine, and put it in a hardcover, and use some obscure publisher name, Sona Books, to make you think it's something different. When it's not, it's just a Retro Gamer bookazine with a hardcover repackaged to make you think it's a new book, which is probably why it was half price on Amazon and I got it so cheaply, because maybe a few people figured that out, or they did some research and found out what it was. I don't know. I can't complain because I basically paid nothing for it because of the vouchers that I had. But yeah, I mean, it's probably good if you've never read those articles before. But if you read Retro Gamer and you've bought some of the bookazines, then you've most definitely read all those articles before. And if you were thinking this was a new book, it most certainly isn't. But there we go. I hope you enjoyed my look at the ultimate 80s retro gaming collection. Even that's it, really. I've been the Laird. I thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon. Bye bye.